Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Roeth, and I'm with the North American Council for Freight Efficiency. And I'm really happy to be with you today and also a little sad. We're going to go through technology and how that might look on your truck and your dad's truck or your grandkids or kids' truck. And this was going to be part of the 2020 Mid-America Trucking Show, but with the virus and limiting transmission, it was canceled. And so we're doing it with this video. This seminar, as I said, would have taken place on Thursday, March 26th. And, there's a lot of technology that's coming to trucks. Some of it is hype and talk, may never happen. Others is happening as we speak. So today, I'll bring you some comments and some thoughts that we have here at the North American Council for Freight Efficiency and talk about technology on these trucks and a little bit about how we see it progressing, both a little bit in the past and on into the future. We're an unbiased nonprofit working in the industry. We've been at it a little over 10 years, and we've got a lot of information on different technologies that you can put on your trucks and trailers, as well as operational characteristics to really move the ball and do better with respect to fuel efficiency, going from like the 6, 8, 10 mile per gallon even range. And so right there on nacfe.org, you can find that information. It's all free, various videos and reports and that sort of thing. So our focus is really on efficiency and economy. And so let's get started. This may have been your dad's truck. This is a truck that, is known as sort of American trucking, right? In the history of American trucking. That truck may have been built in the late 1990s, had that long and tall classic look, and, really was a truck that did a lot of good for the industry. It clearly was ahead of and produced before emissions regulations really took off in around 2002, and then again in 4, 7, and 10. So it was a pre-emission truck that didn't have the challenges that we've come to know of with the newer emissions. But, and there's a big but here, this truck was also built and when fuel was relatively cheap, $1 to $1.50 a gallon. And, then the fuel got more expensive. And so as your father or mother maybe owned that truck, fuel surpassed the $2 level and then $2.50 and $3 and went all the way to $5 while he might have been driving this truck. Now it's down in the, it went back down to 4 for a while and it's lower, but that fuel price is a big impact on the operation of this truck over the time your dad owned it. And really what I want to get to then is the cost of that. So, this truck had a long hood, flat hood, external air cleaners, a lot along frame rails as well as the exhaust. And so let's explore a couple of those real quickly. Those external air cleaners, man, are those cool. Big places for that chrome. And, they were big and they were dynamic. They may have cost maybe $500, $600 when this truck originally was purchased, but that's just a small amount of what those air cleaners cost. When you operate a truck at 110,000 miles and, you do it at 6 mile per gallon or 5 mile per gallon and at fuel prices around $3, those cans now cost in fuel somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 a year. In fuel, because they're out there, they're creating a lot of drag and they're creating a lot of turbulence around that tractor. Exhaust stacks are the same way. You had these external exhaust stacks and, they were in that airstream and they affected it. Another $500 maybe in fuel expense because of those. As we'll talk about here in a few minutes, with the emissions regulations that came, those stacks ended up going behind the cab such that they got out of the airstream. And ultimately, on new trucks, there's a lot of exhaust, horizontal exhaust, where much less cost in the overall exhaust systems and much better on fuel because of this aerodynamic issue. And then finally, coming around to just the truck in general, flat bumpers, lots of mirrors, no skirting on the tractor. All of that meant that this truck was somewhere around 15% less efficient than what was coming in the future. And that became really expensive to operate your dad's truck. I mentioned fuel costs, so I thought I'd just take a minute and look over the last 25 years of diesel fuel at the pump. For the first 10 years, it was really at that $1.50 a gallon range I was mentioning earlier. And then, in the mid 2000s, it started moving up. And for the last 15 years, we've seen it, hit $2, but really only for a short period of time, and really at $4 for, 4 or 5 years there. And here we see this big drop with the virus right here going on, and who knows where fuel pricing will go in the future. But definitely a concern to operate these trucks. And that fuel cost can be anywhere from $20,000 to $70,000 depending per year, depending on where you're at on this curve. So let's get back to your truck. So if you're a truck driver today, you're driving something probably more like this. Not everyone, but many are. We've seen aerodynamics, being driven into most new trucks, primarily around the cost of operation. That fuel cost just became so much. And so we see aerodynamics, we see powertrain changes. We see, customizing the engine and the transmission in a way that burns less fuel, and engine parameter settings around cruise control and so forth. All that's coming together to make your truck very different, and burning a lot less fuel than your dad's truck. Off to the right there is one of the Department of Energy super trucks. That's Volvo's super truck, and really what we've noticed here is a dramatic improvement in efficiency with those super trucks. But a lot of those technologies coming into the new trucks that we're seeing being built and in the hands of fleets and then owner operators, as some of these technologies cascade through the used truck market. So today's truck is much more efficient on fuel. It is much better emissions truck with it takes 70 of these trucks to match the NOx and particulate matter of your dad's truck. And really that efficiency or that emissions technologies, we've figured out how to deal with those. So the cost of them, the downtime, the maintenance, all of that is not nothing and hasn't completely gone away, but is a much lower level than it was before. So let's look at the future. So there's a lot of talk about where we go in the future. And if you just read any of the magazines, they are just stock full of what people believe are the technologies of the future. I show a few here. We had Walmart build a Waze truck a couple of years ago. And in that case, a pretty stark look at the future with what might be there. We've got all kinds of things going on around fuels and alternatives. We got electric trucks, hydrogen trucks, all of that starting to become, not just ideas that people are talking about, but real prototypes, real movement of goods. We've got automation, whether it be something like platooning a bunch of trucks on the left there, in kind of a futuristic, but not unrealistic look at a truck design, to off to the right where we get so good at autonomous that we don't even need a cab. And that pup there, or whatever you want to call that, sled or skateboard, without a cab, I mean that would cost significantly less than a cab and a sleeper that we have today. So where is all this headed? And so I offer a couple of thoughts given the research we've done at NACFE. Before I go there, I got a big chuckle out of this in January from Transport Topics cartoon where, what's going to be popular this year, sort of evidence of what's on the minds of manufacturers and fleets and everybody as to what's going to win out. And here at NACFE, we think a lot of different solutions will be involved. So your kids or maybe your grandkids' truck, what do we see? Well, we're pretty certain that electric trucks will be part of it. It could be just at the ports and drayage, but we also believe that it will likely move into day cab, regional haul, dedicated routes, as your kid becomes a truck driver or starts to own a truck. As you look out into another 10 or 20 or 30 years down the road, we expect batteries to significantly continue to improve, and maybe electric trucks will be a real long haul solution as well. We also have hydrogen emerging as a possibility, and what's interesting about the electric truck piece is we see startups as well as traditional manufacturers really coming together and offering ideas and working together around the whole marketplace on electric. So we do see electric being a big part of it. Shell and the Starship project actually showed us a vision of where we could go with efficiency. So where could we go with, dramatic aerodynamics, no mirrors on the truck with camera related system, which now is approved in many operations, as well as a number of other things with tires and other pieces that make for an incredibly efficient truck. So we can consider and believe that will happen. You don't see anything here on where we see autonomous going. We do think that platooning, as well as other advanced driver-assisted tools, will continue quickly. And we do see the opportunity for maybe exit-to-exit driving with no driver in the truck, or something like that emerging for your kids or your grandkids' truck. But that's really where we see that we're not really sure where that's headed and how all that's going to work through. So those are some thoughts about as we see that, maybe your kids or your grandkids' truck. And finally, I'd offer some of these in summary. One is the future's coming fast. And these aren't just science projects. This isn't just hype. It is coming, and it's here. There's a lot of money being spent in this marketplace. As we go into uncharted waters with a potential recession or a recession as we look forward, it'll be interesting to see which of these technologies continue the development, continue the deployment going forward. We think it's important for everyone to stay up to date, whether you're an owner-operator or a fleet, whether you're a manufacturer or the government. Everybody needs to stay up to date on these technologies as they come. Know your business well. So where do you operate the trucks? How do you get them fixed and maintained? What sort of lengths do you need? Could you increase some dwell time for charging or not? What all the dynamics around your business, so you can look at these technologies and think about them for what you're doing. A fourth point is to ask others similar to you and then copy them. This is good for any sort of people listening to this or watching this video, whether you're a manufacturer or whether you're a fleet. Find others in your network that are similar to you, and then maybe copy them, or maybe adjust your business to what they're doing. But use them. We're all trying to figure out these technologies. Keep a total cost of ownership in mind. That's really what trucking is. It's trying to lower that cost per mile with all these technologies and all these opportunities. So continue to do that, but know that your future truck will probably be different. And this happens in trucking. You look at your dad's truck to yours, and your truck to your kids, and then your grandkids. We always see this happen. And so embrace it, take a look at it, see how it works for you. And I hope you've enjoyed our thoughts on this. Take a look at nacfi.org or reach out to me and my team. We'd be happy to talk through this with you. It's unfortunate we can't do a question and answer, because I was really looking forward to that in Louisville. Maybe we can set something up through Facebook or LinkedIn or something to continue the dialogue on this. But thanks for joining. Have a good day.